my approach is really looking at the home and educating the seller, looking through the buyer's eyes at all the buyer's choices. But a majority of our buyers still need a loan. So we
True.
also have to look at that home through an appraiser's eyes, which is our CMA. However, while yes, I do recommend a conventional CMA the way we've
Mhm.
run it, I
Mhm.
will be giving it a new name,
Okay.
a new way of presenting to the seller that makes it more effective, more efficient, and more understandable by the seller.
Good morning, Jackie.
Good morning, Charlie. How are you?
I'm great. Hey, it's always good to see you. For those that don't know you, you're a pricing management negotiation strategist who brings to your presentations humor and an engaging style taken from over 30 years of award-winning success as a top producer, a manager of a large real estate brokerage, and an in-demand international presenter. We are so happy to be able to welcome you back to the show and have your hour-long pricing presentation coming up on February 3rd at 10 a.m. How have you been surviving the crazy last year?
On Zoom.
On Zoom, right? You and me both.
Yeah, staying really, really busy doing this. And, fortunately for me, I had been positioned doing Zoom with brokerages for 4 years.
Right.
And so when this happened, I was so well positioned. So, yep, staying really busy this way and very active.
Cool. Very good. Let's talk pricing a little bit as a preview to our event on the 3rd. What's the biggest mistake agents make when working with sellers regarding pricing?
Well, Charlie, I think not understanding the expectations of the seller and not laying out the expectations of the market for the seller so they can make a good educated decision, especially on what was just said. Just when the market dips, we get the sellers right where we want them. And then it goes,
right.
And then they get this illusion of grandeur and they go up. So I've never seen anything fall apart relationship wise that didn't have to do with expectations not met.
True.
So we really need to be very skilled at the questions to ask to know what those sellers' expectations are so that we know what we're facing when we start doing the pricing discussion.
Got it. So setting expectations is super important. Can you give us a peek into why your pricing system is unique?
Yeah, and it is. So everybody's got to take their blinders off when we start discussing this because it's just a real mind shift, if you will. I was licensed in 84, so 37 years now. And what we've really focused on for pricing is a CMA.
Mm-hmm.
CMA is built around the comps for the home. So if I've got a 4-bedroom, 2.5 bath, 2-car garage in a subdivision, 10 to 15 years old, that's what I look for. And I get those homes. And especially in a market like we're in right now, where the inventory is short, we can come up with like nothing competing.
Right.
Because they're all under contract or sold. And so the minute we start to explain to the seller that there's nothing similar to theirs to make a benchmark, that just drives their expectation of bidding wars and overpricing up.
Right.
The fact is, not all competition is comparable. So we as agents have been, I think, shortchanging ourselves, stuck in tunnel vision, thinking that the competition for this particular home is only homes that are similar to those or to that one, And the fact is, buyers will buy like anything in their price point in the geographic radius where they want to live. They'll buy a condo or a single family residence. They'll buy a 2-story or a 1-story. They will buy what hits their emotional needs if it's their price point and in that geographic area. So what I'm going to be doing is expanding the agent's mind as to how to measure competition,
Okay.
not just comparables.
Got it. So I think I know the answer to this next question, but do you still recommend using a conventional CMA?
I do. Because there's two things we need to look at. We need to look at the home through the buyer's eyes, and going back to that mind shift, our CMA is really looking at the home through an appraiser's eyes. Well, something that just hit me like a lead balloon was I don't need an appraiser if I can't find a buyer, right? So my approach is really looking at the home and educating the seller, looking through the buyer's eyes at all the buyer's choices. But a majority of our buyers still need a loan. So we also have to look at that home through an appraiser's eyes, which is our CMA. However, while yes, I do recommend a conventional CMA the way we've run it, I will be giving it a new name, a new way of presenting to the seller that makes it more effective, more efficient, and more understandable by the seller.
Got it. Excellent. How do you feel about giving the seller pre-planned price adjustments at the time of the listing?
That's a great question. And I did for years. I was taught to do that. Look, if this hasn't happened by 30 days, here's what we're going to do. But the other mind shift we'll talk about is not taking the responsibility of having a crystal ball. I mean, I will literally be teaching the agents not to price a home.
Okay.
We will give the seller everything they need for them to pick the points so that we're not responsible, right? So it's no different when we are needing to reposition a home because they're not getting the activity, they're not getting the offers that they wanted. It's really no different because if I say, wow, Charlie, all right, we're listing the home tonight. Now in 30 days, if it isn't sold, we're going to go to this number. What I've just done is predicted the future. And I don't know what the future is going to be.
Sure.
So what I will be teaching is more of a test market.
Okay.
Getting the seller prepared for directional meetings at certain times. And at the directional meeting, we will reassess the competition, how the market's behaving, and then we will decide how to reposition your home.
Got it. Okay,
Yeah.
Awesome.
I don't want to be responsible for the future.
No, I hear you. So we will see you again on February 3rd at 10 a.m. Looking forward to that presentation. Jackie, it's always a pleasure to talk to you. I hope you have a good weekend and take care of yourself.
You too, Charlie. Thank you.
Thanks. Take care.
All right. Bye-bye.
It's my pleasure to welcome our next guest back to the show, Coach Amy Lassen. Good morning, Amy.
Good morning.
Good morning. It's always good to see you. Today we're going to be talking about turning our business plan into a set of clear marching orders. Where do you want to start?
I feel like it's kind of challenging without visual aids, but that's the class that we're going to have at Remax Allegiance on Monday. So I think here's the basics, and you know this, Charlie. When I've been using the analogy of a custom blueprint, a blueprint of a custom home, right?
Yes.
If all you had was the paint colors and the elevation and the roof tile chosen, the contractor would have no marching orders. What would they do, right? How would they? So when you create a business plan, you need detailed schematics, right? For the electrical, for the plumbing. And so you've chosen sphere of influence as your main source of business, right? You've chosen social media. You've chosen to get, I call it listing leverage. Other people call it sign calls, good old fashioned sign calls. But in this day and age, it's way more social driven, right? So you have to have step by step. And then wherever you put it, on a piece of paper, in a spreadsheet, in some sort of a project management workflow, how long will it take you? When is it due? Who's responsible for it, right? Like newsletter.
Yep.
Sign up for the Remax Allegiance newsletter. Cool. When do you have to get that done by? The 15th. Great. How long will it take you? Probably 10 minutes to send the email. Knock that out now.
Right.
I think when you take the vision that you have and you make it step by step, and you can see, when I started doing time estimates on my to-do list, how did my life get better? So I guess that's the basic jumping in.
So the idea is having the mini plans for every lead source, right? And frankly, every activity. It's funny you bring up the e-newsletter that Chris does for us. He was saying to me the other day that so-and-so agent signed up like 4 months ago and still has yet to get her list, her sphere of influence to him. It's like, we need the names of your people and the email addresses so we can do this for you. So as he's talking, I'm like texting the agent, when is Chris going to have this list, right? And she's like, it'll, Sunday, right? Because that's not a text that she wanted to get from me. Mm-hmm. So, I think that agents have the best of intentions. We spend time in December doing a plan, and then reality hits, right? And I'm too busy. I'm too busy to attend a seminar. I'm too busy to implement this lead source. I'm too busy to get this list of past clients in Sphere to Chris so he can start auto sending this email, right? And I see your framework as a way to break it down into simple steps.
Absolutely. And that I don't have enough time is classic. None of us do, right? Every person has the same amount of time. So the thing that I've started challenging myself with, and I challenge the people that I coach, when you say, I don't have enough time, mm-hmm. everybody gets the same 24 hours, right? And most of the issues, we don't know where the time goes, or we don't have clear priorities, or we procrastinate about things, we avoid certain things and overinvest in others. And that's what a clear set of marching orders can help to control. Recognize the agents in your market who are doing everything you say you don't have time for in the same 24 hours, right? There's a way. You may have to slow down to speed up. I think that's another thing. When you're in the doing, and this is what you and I talked about with CEO time. When you're in the OO time, when you're the operator, you're showing houses, you're bagging them and tagging them, like that feels like your job, right? And then you don't step back to work on those things, and it tends to feel bogging down. Charlie, I've had so many coaching clients this January doing the work they were supposed to be doing all along and admitting how scary it is to feel bogged down in the inertia. It feels like inertia of cleaning up their database.
Yeah.
They're kind of panicked that maybe they're doing the wrong thing because it doesn't feel like putting money in the bank. And so I think there's something to that. There's the adrenaline rush of, I've got a client, right? I've got one.
Yeah.
And you don't feel the same when you're doing the grit work, when you're doing the grind. But it's just absolutely vital to put those things in place so that you can function day to day and not every single day say, oh man, forgot to do that. Didn't have time.
Right. So talk to me more specifically. You mentioned different ways to get this set of clear marching orders in front of us.
Yes.
Right. If I'm an agent and I was one of the 100 agents that came to our 3 business planning classes, I've got a plan.
Yep.
Right. But the year started off strong. Mm-hmm. We've had a weak winter weather-wise, and we've got buyers coming out of the woodwork, just like it's April or May.
Sure.
Right. So I'm busy. I haven't forgotten about the business plan, but it's not top of mind yet, still, right? Like maybe it was in December.
Yeah.
What's the very first step? What's the next thing I need to do to move forward with that?
Well, I hate to say it, and I want you to argue with me if I'm wrong, Charlie, because I think you have to go back and look at your plan and ask yourself if it's clear, right? How most of us, it's vague. And I do this on coaching calls. I say, okay, if you gave this to me, I wouldn't know what to do, and I'm your coach. So,
right.
Can we be way more specific about what you meant? Because you don't know either. And it's in here. I'll remember. No, we won't. So I would say make sure that your plan is clear enough that you could pass it off to someone else and they'd understand it. Have you ever, Charlie, done that exercise in school where you are supposed to write directions for making a peanut butter sandwich?
I can't say that I have, Amy.
Jackie's nodding in backstage. So where the teacher says, write instructions.
Okay.
And it's hilarious because then everybody, they swap them and then they have to follow others' instructions. And you end up with the knife left in.
Right.
Don't say, remove the knife.
Yep.
Twist the lid. Flip it up, this super specific. And it's sort of, meant to give children a look at what an engineer goes through. I can see the other Jackie laughing off stage. So the thing of it is, this is what we're all up against. It's like, I need a newsletter, done. That is so not clear, right? So in the example we gave of ordering it from Remax Allegiant, reach out to Chris, buy such and the time, they may or may not know the subtasks, which are get your CRM together, or export a CSV file, or who do I reach out to help me with a CSV file, or. So, and maybe this is mind numbing to think, what, I have to do all that? Eventually, yes. And you can do it a little at a time. So step number one, and I've been doing it myself, is go through the vision that you have, figure out what the clear details are beneath that. I want to send birthday cards every single month. To that end, I need to, great. How long will that take me? Great. How long, when does that need to be done, and what priority is it? So you can do that on a piece of paper. You can do it in a spreadsheet with columns. I like Asana. Some people like Monday. Trello is wonderful. I'm using Asana more because of the subtasks and time estimates and things like that. This is probably...
Well, yeah, I mean, I want to plug Asana because Jerusalem's teaching Asana to our agents now, right? I mean,
good.
Get it done in 21. I think I've renamed her class, Get It Done in 21. I don't know what the name of her class is. But anyway, it's an Asana class. We've been using it on and off for years. She's giggling like she likes to do, so I'm not going to bring her up and embarrass her. But yeah,
done in 2021.
There you go. Good.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Asana. Yeah.
Okay. So I've made my plans.
Yes.
Right. And it's often more than one plan, right? You and I have talked about there needs to be a plan for every lead source.
Yes.
Right. And then there's often plans underneath the plans.
Yes.
How do I know what to prioritize?
How do you know what? Ooh, that is such a powerful. Do you know your own answer to your question?
I think I do.
Okay, cool. What's your answer?
My answer is what's my number one lead source?
Oh, there you go. Well, I mean, yeah, absolutely.
And maybe that's obvious, but how many coaching calls do you and I get on? Jackie Leavenworth backstage, she's a coach too. How many, and they talk about all the stuff they've done this week. And if you look at the hierarchy of transactions, they spend a lot of time with a lead source that's going to give them 3 transactions this year. Yes. And they've neglected the past clients in Sphere that are going to give them 30. Right? It happens all the time.
Yeah.
So, it's the missing of the priority. It's well, I'm getting all these buyer leads. I better answer them.
Yeah.
Well, how many conversations did you have with your past clients in Sphere this week? It says here you need to have 20. Well, I didn't have time because I was, I'm got to deal with the buyers.
Yeah.
Even though 95% of them aren't going to close, I got to, right. So that's the, and when I hear this, when they start talking, I don't remember everyone's business plan, and you don't, just from off the top of our heads, but we have a pretty good idea that most people, it's going to be past clients in Sphere. And when they're on this other lead source, whatever it is, I pull it up as they're talking, and then I share the screen, right? And it's, well, why'd you spend so much time this week on this, right? I mean, are we going to increase online leads from 3 to 30? I mean, have I missed something? I mean, we can do that. That would be fantastic. But is that the plan? Well, no.
I think the reason I got so hung up on your question is I still think it's hard for the average agent, even though you said
it is hard.
It's not.
I think it is hard.
So here's what I think is step one. I said step one is subtasks. Yeah. I think step one is read your plan every day. Whatever form it's already in, read it once a day.
Yeah, I think we talked about that earlier. Last week? This week?
Yeah, with CEO time. But here's the problem, because this is a short show, we can't help them with everything.
Right.
But a lot of agents are a little bit unfamiliar with what they planned. Yeah. Yesterday I was asking one agent, is this a passive or an active source? And I guess my language was too stiff. What I meant was, are you tracking after the fact that you get agent referrals?
Okay.
Are you planning to pursue agent referrals? Right? Like, do you want to build a marketing strategy to achieve X number of closings from agent referrals? Or are you just saying, I'll probably get 1 or 2?
Right.
And she just did not understand what I was saying. So it's a wish if it doesn't have a task list built in, right? So that's the reason I differentiate between active and passive. And if you could just look at it every day and say, what does it say I have to do? And if you keep saying, I don't know, then maybe you need to get a buddy to help you brainstorm if you don't have a coach or a broker that you can go through it with. Because I agree with you, Charlie. Of course, our spheres of influence are the number one most productive sources of business. So that's just kind of true. And you may say, no, I'm new to my market, or I don't know that many people.
Right.
I still think it's a foundational piece.
Yep.
And if you start, I had a 78-year-old agent say to me once, Amy, if I had it to do over, I would nurture my sphere better. He said, I just was always chasing the new business. And even as I grew to have this incredibly large past book of business, it was just like next, you know. So even, I love it that Jackie Leavenworth is smirking in the back. It's so fun that we can see what they can't. So I think it's a foundational piece regardless, no matter how many people you think you do or don't know. And I love to tell the story about the woman that I trained who was new to my community. She was 2 months in town, 2 weeks licensed, and English was not her first language.
Okay.
Within a year, man, did she have a big sphere, you know? She just went after it. Yeah. She was very, very committed to creating some sort of sense of community and creating value. So yes, you have to identify your most effective sources. If you spread yourself too thin across multiple things, it's going to be hard to get results. So I'd say fewer sources. Look at your business plan, and if you have 8 sources of business, trim it to 3.
Agreed. Yes. Until those 3 are operating at a level 10, and then you can add more, right? And we know that most agents, they're not quite there. So I think, the goals need to be up front and center, and that includes the lead sources, how many deals you're going to get from each lead source, because if they're not reading their plan every day, or 3 months from now they're not reading their plan every day, it's still right here, right? I need 30 deals from my past clients in Sphere. Yes. So, they can't escape it. You and I are participating in a large international coaching companies online conference yesterday and today. Yes. And what's one of the themes? Back to basics, calling your clients. I'm like texting some of my clients in all caps, he's talking to you. And they're like, oh no, because we're so neglectful.
Yes. Okay. I think you're bringing up a super good point. If we can just give rules of thumb, like what I wanted to address was, but you have to do it in a class that we're going to do on Monday. Like, how do you really take your business plan and build it into marching orders? That's involved. Okay. We can't really explain that right this second. But how do you make your business plan more actionable? I think you've really hit on it. We've got to make it simpler. First of all, make your business plan simpler. Choose very few sources and commit to the actions. And when you hear over and over and over, well, it's simple. All you have to do is call your people, and you think, no, I think there's a magic way, right? I'll go look for the magic way that isn't something I'm resisting. Nope. Listen to the people who said the way I was successful was I made my calls. I was consistent, right? So choose fewer sources, trust the people who are doing really consistent things. And if consistency offends you and you wish there were magic beans, I hate to break it to you, they don't exist. Consistency will take you everywhere. So pick something you can be consistent with and start doing the heck out of it.
In that class, I'm showing how to use your business plan as a weekly guide to achieving your goals. It is 10:30 to 11:30 on Monday. And if people would like to register for that class, they can go to theallegianceway.com and they can click on events. What else do you have on this topic today?
Well, I can tell you what I do for myself to make my business plan more actionable. I'm a high expressive. I like things to be visual for me. If my business plan is hidden inside a closed laptop, it's as though it never existed.
Right.
So I have it in a couple of forms. I've written out a detailed version that includes the financials. And then I have the marketing plans for each source. And I'm keeping it very simple, right? Mine is very, very simple. It's basically sphere of influence and listing leverage, because social media is embedded in both of those. That may be confusing to people listening, but that's how simple my plan is. And I also have a poster version. I am a fan of colors.
Yes, you are, Amy. Go on.
I took my children markers, my Crayola markers, and I created a simple poster with my sources, the steps, my mantra, my power statements, the goal for the year. And it reminds me, and it's simple. It's up, it's visual. It's actually not, because it's in my other office, so I can show you. But that's proof that I need another copy, because that's what we all need. Make it something that you can look at every single day. If it doesn't make sense to you, keep reading it until it does. Look for a class, find a buddy, get another agent to talk it through with. explain it to your cat. That might sound silly, but just having to explain something to another person really does make it make better sense to you.
Yeah, and Jerusalem's giggling because she has more conversations with her cats probably than people every day.
Now she's dying. You've made her double over.
Well, and now I can't throw it back to her. So, Amy, some parting thoughts while Jerusalem gets it back together there.
Another silly parting thought. Charlie, I have been saying to people lately, if you need to also put it in a spreadsheet with columns for time estimates, lines, who could be responsible and what resources do I have access to, it's not too many. I hate loading up my coaching clients with too many ways of doing one thing. I do. You shouldn't have 14 kinds of brooms. You should just have a broom. The thing of it is, we all have 14 kinds of cleaning products because you would never put Ajax on your windows.
Right.
Like, Windex is fabulous. Spreadsheets are wonderful. So if I ask you to make a poster and put it in the long form that Remax Allegiance provides and put it in a spreadsheet, it's because there's magic in having it be in those multiple forms. So I think that would be my parting shot. Don't think this is too much work. Lay it out for yourself until it really, really calls you forward, because we all get 24 hours, and whatever it takes to get you focused on the most effective processes, right? The most effective steps. Don't go chase. What would you say, Charlie, is the number one chase that people do instead of go after their sphere? Sideline. I don't know.
Like the number one, I think it's day-to-day stuff. It's squirrel. It's the I had planned on my hour of power and then this happened, right? Somebody wanted to see a house, so I had to go show that house, even though I could have asked them if they could see it 2 hours later and they would have said yes, right? I mean, it's the constant distractions and the fires. You know, Davidson Lunger says we're not 911. We're not 911 operators. This stuff can almost always wait.
Well, and so I know we're just about to be over time. So then here's another thing I would say is we need processes.
Yes.
What's your buyer process? What is your listing process?
Right.
The analogy I give, and I love 911 operators. I say most of us treat it as though we were firefighters.
Yep.
Everything's always on fire. We're sliding down the pole. We consider ourselves heroes.
Right.
I said, and the truth is we should be forest rangers. So get up every day with a way of managing a healthy forest, and you can have fewer fires to put out.
Forestry management. I kept hearing about that back during the debates.